Thank you very much for staying with us. Now, the Senate has passed the Finance Bill 2020 that was transmitted to the National Assembly by President Muhammadu Buhari for consideration and passage 2 weeks ago. The passage of the bill, which was sequel to the consideration of a report by the Senate Joint Committee on Finance, Customs, Excise and Tariff, Trade and Investment and Public Procurement, specifically seeks to amend 17 key areas. According to President Buhari, the amendment bill will seek to adopt appropriate counter-cyclical fiscal policies to respond to the economic and revenue challenge precipitated by the decline in international oil prices, as well as the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the Nigerian economy. As Senate finally passes the bill into law, a major question begging for urgent answers: how will the amended bill impact Nigerians and the entire economy? Joining me live in the studio is the Director of Tax and Regulatory Services at Mazars Nigeria, Mr. Olufunsho Olaujo. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
We've talked about this the first time when we had Finance Bill 2019,
yes.
Now 2020. Please, what's different? What's the difference? So it's a yearly thing, right? There'll be an update, or what's the 2020 all about apart from 2019?
Okay, so what has happened is government in Nigeria has started releasing finance bill every year.
Okay.
And this is a practice worldwide in the more developed countries. You see them release finance bill every year to address tax issues that they identified during the past year. So what has happened in Nigeria is that the Finance Bill 2020, if you look at it, it's quite different from the 2019 Finance Act. So what it tries to do is to correct issues that have not been addressed previously, and to also address issues in the Finance Act that has been misinterpreted by people.
We see that the focus is on getting more money, talking about amended bill is to get more money for government as oil price continues to dip. But oil price is looking good. Actually, recently, we're about $50, $51 now. But how well do you see this bill really helping government to show up revenue?
All right. So apart from revenue generation is one of the focus, right?
Yes,
to get to fund the budget for 2021.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've seen what you expect ordinarily is increase in taxes. So, but this bill is not trying to increase any tax. And the finance minister has said this repeatedly at different fora that she has attended. So, but what we are seeing is that the bill is trying to bring more people into the tax net. So, by giving incentives that attract people to become compliant, they bring more people into the tax net. And then, in the long run, the government benefits from it. And then, there are instances of new taxes being introduced, like, for instance, telecom services will now pay excise duties.
Okay.
The taxes on telecom services. Some other items are also going to be subject to tax. So these are areas where we expect new revenue generation. So, but then recall that the VAT increase in the Finance Act of 7.5% would kick in from next year because COVID-19 really impacted last year's results. Yeah. So we expect that in 2020, as activities begin to pick up, we will begin to see the impacts of the 7.5% VAT rates.
So let's look at the figures that have come in now from FRS as we move on. We've seen that they're still doing pretty well, at least a little fairly well, despite the COVID-19 challenge and all of that. What could be responsible for this? Are we having more people, like you said? Because experts like you have argued that it's not really about expanding or increasing tax.
Yes.
It's about expanding the net,
yes,
bringing more people into this net. Is that what we are doing at this time?
Yes, so Finance Act has to an extent be able to address that. So we have more people coming in now because they now say that the government is now giving incentives that brings them in and they don't have to pay tax. So, but then they don't account for taxes that they deduct from other people because they are now within the tax net. So that increases the tax collection ultimately. And then again, the increase in VAT rate actually also resulted in a slight increase. In tax collection this year because, of course, the rate has increased even though business activities has reduced, but then the rates that applied on that base resulted in increase in taxes.
Well, one thing is putting a bill, one thing is making it law, one thing is total implementation. If you were to look at 2019's finance bill, was an act, right?
Yeah.
Act. Now, what would you say? What are the positives you would say that, yes, remarkably, we were able to improve this, able to improve that, so that we'll expect more in 2020s?
Okay, in 2019, Finance Act 2019 actually came at a time when COVID-19 set in.
Yeah.
So really, we are unable to achieve the full potential of Finance Act 2019. So, but again, looking at the numbers released by FIRS, we can say it has been able to achieve a little increase from what they've been doing previously. So, but with the Finance Act 2020 consolidating on the Finance Act 2019, we expect that we'll begin to see even much more improvements going into the future.
Clarity for business people is also something that is very, very important. Because at the time where they say if you have a business that is 25 million, you won't pay taxes. Can we just maybe just educate Nigerians a bit on what they should expect in this document?
Okay, so Finance Bill 2020 is out there. Even though it's been passed by the Senate, it's awaiting the presidential assent. So key highlights of the bill is providing exemptions for the agri-business.
Okay.
So what this has done is that instead of the proposed bill that was initially sent to the National Assembly recommended a total overhaul and alignment of the tax exemptions with that of regular companies. So saying companies should only get tax holiday of 3 years and then 2 years additional. So but the senator said instead of totally scrapping that rate or aligning it with that of the regular companies, let's make it a 4 years initial and then 2 years for the additional period. So that way, if President agrees to that and assents on that, then it means the exemptions for agricultural companies still remains for them. Yeah. So it also provides for a reduction in minimum tax rates. So minimum tax rate is originally 0.5% of turnover, right? Okay. So what has happened is with this bill being passed for the next 2 years, from 1st January 2020 to December 31st, 2021, companies will enjoy a reduced minimum tax rate of 0.25% of turnover instead of 0.5% of turnover. So that in a way will reduce the impacts of will help cushion the impacts of COVID-19, and then companies will be able to benefit from that reduction. So there are a lot more. I
know. It's a very, very, very voluminous document. Company income tax, industrial development, personal income tax, value-added tax, FIRS, establishment act, companies and allied matters act, and all of this. This is also channeled on talking about ease of doing business. Yeah. It also comes in here, right?
Yes.
So take us through how that plays out.
Okay, so what will happen is, so companies are now clear, the rules is now clear. Yeah. So companies now know what they need to do at every point in time, especially for small companies. The focus is on small companies in this instance. So they are now exempted from taxes, so they are now clear. There was ambiguity on whether education tax would apply to those companies. So, but now the Finance Bill 2020 has clearly stated that you will be exempted from education tax. So this clarity will, in a long way, help businesses to focus well on their business, ease the process of compliance for a lot of people because it's now clearer, they know what the rules are, and then it also then impacts on the economy generally.
Almost finally now, we've seen that Nigerians are always saying that, yes, I'm ready to pay my tax. Like for me, I'm always saying it, I'm proud to pay my tax in Lagos State. I see what's being done, I see roads being fixed, I see what I want, at least to a level that I can commend the government. Yeah. But some will tell you that I ain't seeing what my government is doing. I provide my own power. I walk on my roads. I provide my water. You know, almost all the services that you need provided by yourself. So you're not encouraged. I think government needs to do something to encourage Nigerians. They need to build this confidence. Taxation, I think, should be paid willingly.
Yes, I agree. So taxes should be paid willingly. I agree with you 100%. So, but I think, to be fair to government, I think government is trying a lot. You would see the emphasis has been on ease of compliance, ease of doing business. Emphasis has been on reducing the impact, reducing the tax burden on small companies especially. I wouldn't say, I wouldn't give the government a knock. I think the government has done well, quite well. So, but then as citizens too, we then need to play our part. the road to compliance, right, is a road to compliance. Compliance is not something that you do once, so it's actually a road that you take to compliance. So I think people should plan actually to plan their processes in a way that they get to comply over a period of time.
Oh, okay. So almost finally now, what about states and what would they do for them to be able to also increase IGR? Part of IGR is taxation. Okay, I'll connect with. I have a feeler. Okay, just 1 minute before you answer that question. Let's look at Thursday's trading. I have joining me via phone is Mr. Dele Sanusi. Looking at the closing figures of today, Thursday. The market is closing positive with 2.05% up. We have top gainers for today. We have Airtel, Afrique. We have Dangote Cement, Okomo Oil, Unilever, Dover, and we have for top losers, we have Flour Mills, we have Guarantee Trust Bank, we have FCMB, and we have UAC. And Mr. Dele Sanusi is going to be joining us from the exchange. I don't know if he's working remotely from home. Mr. Dele Sanusi is the MD CEO Stockbroking Unit of Assets Growth and Development Assets Management Limited. MD CEO Stockbroking Unit. Mr. Sanusi, if you can hear me, the market is really, really looking good today. 2.05%.
Yes, the market went up also again. All the losses that we have experienced, we are trying to record them back.
How well can we sustain this, Mr. Sanusi?
Thank you very much. Actually, if you look at some factors which are really responsible for it, it has been, if I try to remind you, you know that it is not quite long that if you look at the, we had a kind of spike because of the TB. The rate went down, and before we know it, around that, about 2 weeks ago, we can see the rate of the TB try to, spike up again from the less than 1% to about 3.02%, which really caused the down that you are seeing a few days ago. And also, if you look at during the week, the bulk auction that they declare is somehow low. But based on all these things that we can see that towards the market we still continue to record the rate. There's no rate that you can see used to compare to what we are can obtain on the floor of the Nigeria everything. Talk of the dividend yield and the good and the equity value. The good value. The share price of all these stocks. So those are the things. So, but for now, we will see this is something gaining because the bond auction rate is low compared to what the investor wants, and also the TB rate also is quite a little bit low compared to the appetite of the investor.
Okay, Mr. Dele Sanusi, there I must thank you very much. Mr. Dele Sanusi is Group Growth and Development Assets Management Limited, MD CEO Stockbroking Unit. I must thank you very much for joining us on the show. All right, let's continue. As we wrap up, what would you say? What can they do to improve revenue? You've seen the exchange is doing very well. Let's also make sure that taxation is also doing very well.
Okay, so unfortunately for us, if you look at the budget for 2021, the deficit is quite huge, and tax is one of the major source of revenue that government is looking at to fund our budget.
True.
So it's very important that government pays very apt attention to tax collection, which is why my government has put all of these efforts together and to come up with the Finance Bill 2020. So what I would say is we need to continue to introduce laws and legislations that would help drive compliance, voluntary compliance especially. And then beyond what has been done in the Finance Bill, we may then need to look at our laws and see how we can revamp them and make them align with global best practice.
Indeed, that's the way to go. Mr. Olufunso, I must thank you very much for your time. It's great to really have you join us on the show and breaking it down and making real sense of what this stands for us. I appreciate your time. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.